The chop is no more, or the Chaz, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's gone. It's done. But, according to the Federalist here, as they disband CHOP, its leaders insist their anarchy that enabled rape and murder was successful. No, I don't think it was. Uh, it's it's amazing the gaslighting that the left will do. But before we get into this, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of this video. Share it if you like. Sharing is one of the best ways to get my channel out there and to let people know that I am creating this content, get the information out there. Growing a new channel is a slow and enduring process, but I hope you guys can help me do that if you do like this material. So also don't forget, if you would like to contribute to the channel financially, because I'm just a poor, humble YouTuber just starting out, there are links to my Patreon, PayPal, and Subscribestar listed down below. And any donations I greatly appreciate. They are all going to be used to help grow the channel and provide more content for you. So anyways, let's go ahead and get back into this. CHOP, Seattle's lawless Capitol Hill occupied protest, is no longer occupied. The Solidarity Committee. The language these people use is just so hilarious. There's always something very clinical and gay about it. There's the Solidarity Committee. The Solidarity Committee is probably just two dreadlocked, pink-haired fucking lunatics sitting there speaking for everybody. That's probably what their Solidarity Committee is. So the Solidarity Committee of CHOP, the 6-block cop-free area previously known as Chaz, which they had to rename from Chaz because they realized that if they were calling it an autonomous zone instead of just an occupied protest, that excuse me, that if they kept calling it an autonomous zone, they might have been facing Gitmo, which, ooh, excuse me, ooh, sorry about that. They might have been facing Gitmo if they kept calling it an autonomous zone, because that essentially makes them treasonous, sedition, and they could have been brought down under Insurrection Act. So that's I guess that was somewhat smart of them, but to do that. But at the end of the day, it was stupid of them to call themselves an autonomous zone to begin with. So you only get so much credit for correcting your own stupidity. But all right, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone address their comrades in the struggle. Man, it's so funny how these people, they call each other comrades as if they really glorify Soviet Russia. The existential enemy of America for decades. And I hate these people. I just hate these people. All right. So I can't even get through a sentence without laughing and having to criticize these people. All right, so they addressed their comrades in the struggle on Twitter Wednesday to break the news. The CHOP project is now concluded. When it started out, it was supposed to be an autonomous zone free from America. That doesn't sound like much of a project that, something that was only supposed to last a temporary amount of time. Like, all right, our 2-week project is done. No, motherfuckers, I think you guys were trying to create a whole new nation. I don't think he succeeded. So let's see what they had to say. An important message from CHOP Seattle. Please amplify. Thank you for your support over the last 2 weeks. Hashtag CHOP was a success. Only a bunch of commies can call it a failed 6-block state that fell apart after 2 weeks and had murders, rapes, and all kinds of violent criminal activity a success. I mean, these guys are fucking retarded. Over the last 2 weeks, we achieved what no one thought possible. Yeah. Well, actually, hold on. I'm trying to figure out the best smartass way to respond to this. I mean, it's so mind-blowing that they actually think this was a success and that they think they achieved anything. We achieved what no one thought. You did not achieve anything. We actually thought you were going to make it longer than 2 weeks. At least I did. I just think back to the Occupy Wall Street. They at least made it a couple months. These people, 2 weeks and you're out? God, West Coast really are pussies. All right. Over the last 2 weeks, we achieved what no one thought possible. We successfully built a self-governing community and convinced city leaders to enact meaningful police reform. How did you successfully build a self-governing community? You basically had a warlord come in there, hand out rifles to underage kids that on video clearly had no idea how to operate them. You had multiple shootings, and as it went on, within 2 weeks, like the first week was a bunch of like kind of peaceful LARPing, and it was fun to make fun of and laugh at because they still had that hippie ideal of we're just going to be peaceful and everybody's going to get along here. It didn't take long for that to deteriorate. And then you start having the violence. And the whole thing fell apart. So no, I don't think they successfully built a self-governing community. In order to have a successful community, it's got to last more than 2 weeks. I mean, I think it was Jamestown when in Virginia that started out as sort of a communist ideal. It was supposed to be kind of like a communist utopia. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comment section. I think it was Jamestown. And like the first year, it was very communistic how they operated, and the whole thing fell apart. Everybody almost starved and died, and so they realized, oh shit, we got to implement the whole don't work, don't eat, the don't work, don't eat rule, and they actually ended up surviving. But they at least made it a year. You motherfuckers didn't make it 2 weeks. Come on, that's not a success. That's a laughingstock embarrassment. All right, where was I? We successfully built a self-governing community and convinced city leaders to enact meaningful police reform. No, you didn't. You didn't get nearly what you wanted, but I don't want to get ahead of the article here. All right, including substantial budget cuts to the SPD. All right, they're going to talk about how substantial these budget cuts were later, so as much as I want to comment on it now, I got to wait till we get further down the article. The committee said that their beloved CHOP, where very few demonstrators remain, for good reason, the committee noted that their morning census. They didn't have a census. They probably just looked around and did a head count. Good census, guys. Revealed fewer than 24 CHOP occupants near the police precinct and only 11 near Seattle's Space Needle. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone for your support over the last 2 weeks, and congratulations on your victories, of which there were none. You should feel proud of fucking what? This is the participation trophy generation in a nutshell. A total disaster of a failure that they should feel proud about. Seriously. Burn the participation trophies. Melt them down. I don't care what it does burning that plastic to the environment. You're going to do a lot more harm creating more motherfuckers like these that think this was a success. The statement continued, accompanied by the hashtag CHOP was a success. Oh man, you gotta ask yourself, to what standard do these people hold themselves if they think CHOP was a success? Well, the committee championed CHOP's victory in Seattle in convincing Seattle authorities to cut the police budget. Their achievement was far from monumental. Mayor Jenny Durkin has proposed a $20 million or 5% cut to Seattle's police department's budget as part of a plan to remedy the city's $378 million budget gap resulting from increased Wuhan virus response spending and plummeting revenue. So they're cutting $20 million out of their budget, which is next to nothing. And I kind of got a feeling that 5% was cut, that 5% $20 million was coming out anyways, because you already see that their revenues are dropping. And what's also funny is that what they'll probably do is they'll take the safe areas of Seattle, where basically cops are just there to fundraise by giving tickets for running stop signs and stupid extortion shit like that. They're probably just going to take all of those out of those areas and just plop them right in the crime-infested areas, and ain't shit gonna change. So, good success, guys. Good success. At least that's what I would do if I was the police chief. I would want to fuck these guys over as hard as I could. But I'm a dick, so. Anyways, this is a far cry from CHOP occupants' demand for a 50%. So they were aiming for 50%, and they got 20% of that. So 5%, yeah, or 10% of that. 10% of that. So if this was baseball, you wouldn't even be making it in the minor leagues, batting 100. All right. Or a $200 million budget cut. It's not even close to defunding the police. Yet they will call this a success. It's, when does the left get tired of being wrong? When do they get tired of abject failure? We already know the left is comprised of losers. They're all ugly losers who had no friends, who are just pissed off at the world, and they want to tear it all down. This is why I say we need to start shoving these people back in their lockers and hanging them up by their tighty whities and sending them back to the chess clubs. And just tell them, you know what? All right, maybe that's not right. Maybe that's not right. Like I said, I'm a dick. But either way, a lot of this, we let people get away with thinking that these things are good. We don't teach our kids. We don't raise them to understand what is good, what is bad, what is a success, what it means to become a success. We don't teach that anymore, and this is the result of that. This is the result. Here they are there. Oh, they're very professional sign here. We're not leaving until our demands are met. 1, defund SPD by 50% now. 2, fund black communities. What does that even mean? How do you fund black communities? What do you do to fund a community? I mean, we're a nation based off of individual income. How do you fund a community? That doesn't. I mean, I guess maybe they're talking about funding opportunity zones. Oh, you're talking about funding opportunity zones. Okay, guess who's been doing that? Donald Trump. 3, free all protesters. Well, first of all, protesters don't get arrested and locked up. I mean, maybe they'll get arrested and then just like let out of bail and given like $100 fine or something. But if they're not free, then they're what we call fucking rioters, and they don't deserve to be free. So it remains unclear as to which success the committee is referring. Was it the wildly successful community garden? All right. I'm sure I'm rehashing old news here, but it's got to be talked about. The garden. They just laid down a bunch of cardboard on top of the grass and dumped like 3 inches of topsoil on it, and then put a bunch of potted plants on there in what looks to be like a 12 by 12 space. So, and they did this in June. Think you might have missed planting season already. And also, you've got thousands of people there. You think your little 12 by 12 plot of ground with, what's the most you can maybe fit there is like 20 plants, 30 plants. I don't know. I'm not a gardener, so I can't really speculate. But you can't fit much. That's for damn sure. These guys are Larpers. The problem is that they're LARPing when the stakes are real. They're bringing real guns into there. They're bringing real lunatics in there. They picture themselves as these revolutionaries, but they can't even make a goddamn garden. How are you going to build a community when you don't even know, A, how to garden, or B, that you missed gardening season? You missed planting season. These guys are ridiculous. Excuse me. Or perhaps the communal food shortages. 72 hours after the establishment of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, there are apparently already food shortages. This is from Andy No. Here's alert number 2. The homeless people we invited took away all the food at the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. It's because you guys are idiots. Of course, what did you think they were going to do? They're homeless, and you're saying, here's food. They're going to be like, all right, let's get these suckers. We need more food to keep the area operational. Please, if possible, bring vegan meat substitutes. Peak privilege. Peak privilege. You know what? Eat earthworms. Bring vegan meat substitutes, fruits, oats, soy products. I guess they really did earn their Soymalia and Soyviet Union and Veganzuela, monikers. Anything to help us eat. You know what? I would have rather seen them starve. That might be unchristian of me, but guess what? I'm not a perfect man. I'll pray on it later. In discussing CHOP's success, one must not overlook its demonstrable safety and harmony. From breaking 911, breaking 1 dead, 1 critical, and early morning shooting at Seattle protest zone known as CHOP. Police say they attempted to respond, but were met with a violent crowd, and victims were taken to the hospital by CHOP medics. What are the CHOP medics? I mean, I can only imagine that the CHOP medics were the people who would watch the most episodes of Grey's Anatomy. In order to qualify, you got to be able to name 80% of the character middle names. The ones that you never hear on the show. Oh man, CHOP medics. I hear in I don't know whether this was in CHOP or whether this was before CHOP, but I guess somebody got an injury to their leg, and these CHOP medics rushed in and they started putting a tourniquet on it to stop the bleeding. It was like a minor scratch, and they put a tourniquet on it to something that wasn't even bleeding all that profusely. And if you leave a tourniquet on there for too long and the blood flow cuts off, you may end up having to amputate the leg when really the kid just might have needed stitches. These guys, I mean, the idiocy. These parents whoever raised these kids need to be arrested. They need to be. You know, I used to never believe in Child Protective Services taking kids away from parents. These guys are making a very good case that maybe I was dead ass wrong on that. All right. Homicide detectives are investigating following a fatal shooting that occurred early. All right, so that's all stuff we know. CHOP leaders must not have heard about the alleged sexual assault that occurred in the encampment when a man tried to lure a deaf woman into her tent. Tried to kiss her and covered her mouth and told her not to scream while... All right, I shouldn't make jokes there. I got jokes, but I shouldn't make them. Not when we're talking about a woman getting raped. Even I can't go that far. Screamed when he climbed on top and tried to take her clothes off. After a medic intervened, also known as a Grey's Anatomy superfan, he even tried to drag the victim back into his tent. It's because you got great people here. Great people. The Seattle police chief gave reporters quite a list of crimes that had occurred within CHOP, including shootings that left one person dead and more injured, arson, burglary, an assault, a rape, and destroyed property, according to NBC News. But this was such a success. So far, about a dozen residents and businesses have sued the city over the anarchic zone that violated their constitutional property rights, and one shooting victim is reportedly considering suing the police. No. That person needs to be laughed out of the courtroom. The judge needs to look that person in the eye, crack a smirk, and say, get the hell out of my court. Get the hell out of my courtroom. But because it's Seattle, they're probably going to win, and the police are probably going to have to... They're probably going to have to use that 5% budget cut paying this motherfucker that got shot while trying to form a new nation that lasted 2 weeks. Oh, God. The left. We got to figure out something, which you can hear me talk about on my Parler account, but I can't talk about it here. I know, I'm plugging my Parler now. So far, about a dozen residents and businesses have sued the city over... Okay, went over that. Suing the police, which could boil down to another lawsuit against the city. CHOP Solidarity Committee, again, that is hilarious that they have a Solidarity Committee, and it's... I mean, these guys are a joke. Concluded its announcement by urging onlookers not to let the momentum die. Listen, buddy... When your 2-week failed experiment dies, so does the fucking momentum. You have no momentum. It is already dead. Buried. Gone. And of course by endorsing Joe Biden for president. Oh, what says burn down the system more than... endorsing an 80-year-old white man who's been part of the political system for 50 fucking years. These guys are a riot, pun intended. Yeah, viva la revolution. Let's vote the guy who's already been the vice president and has been a senator for like fucking 5 decades. Yeah, let's vote him in. That'll bring the system down. These guys are just... How can you be self-unaware? How can you be so self-unaware to actually have these words come out of your mouth and think anybody's going to take you seriously and actually have the conviction to stand behind it to the point where you go out and try to create a breakaway fucking country within a major U.S. city? I do not understand these people. There is nothing that makes sense about them. Whew. I think what we need to do, we need to take all these people, we need to put them on a plane. We need to send them to another country, preferably a not majority white country, because you know that they talk about all the racism in America, but they want to model our country off of the Nordic states, which are the whitest places in the world. So let's send them to some nations that are, in Africa or India or, parts of Asia, all these places that are less developed, non-industrial countries. Let's send them over there, make them stay for a month, and then we can bring them back. And let's hear how their tune changes when they come back. Let's send them to a place where they have to put a bucket of water on their shoulder and walk 3 miles to the river to get their water. And then we'll bring them back here. And actually, part of this experience, this should be a reality TV show. This should be a reality TV show. Lefties surviving in the world. And we'll have to have cameras all around, so we'll see them break down when they can't get on Twitter, or when or when they're staying in some village, and then somebody brings, some tribal member comes in with the carcass and meat of an endangered species animal, and it's the only source of food, so they have to eat that instead of their soy products. They got to eat a lion or something. These people need to see the world. They need to understand how good they have it. I mean, it's this whole thing is peak privilege. Peak privilege. So they keep wanting to tell us to check our privilege. Check your own, motherfuckers. Check your own. All right. I think that's about enough for this. Actually, hold on. Did I finish this? Let the momentum die. And of course, okay. They came, they saw, they killed, and raped and pillaged. Yes, they did rape and pillage. But here's the thing, guys. And, because of my Viking ancestry, I have a genetic inclination or genetic understanding of what it means to pillage. So here's the thing. Typically, you do it to other people, not your own. All right, I'm just kidding on that front. But anyways, this is all. I mean, I'm kind of sad to see it go, because we all know comedy is dead because of censorship and because of cancel culture. So we have no comedy in this world. These people were a good source of it. But that's why we need to create this reality TV show where we take a bunch of fucking vegan lefties and we put them on a plane, we send them to a third world country, we put them in a tribal community, and we just tell them to survive. And here's the thing. We don't intervene. So if they live, they live. But like, who was it? Dolph Lundgren and which Rocky? Was it Rocky 4? If he dies, he dies. All right. Anyways, I'm running out of steam on this one. I'm just bullshitting at this point. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a good night. And if you like this video, please share it, subscribe, all that good stuff. I hope to see you here back again tomorrow. Got 2 more videos coming. After that, Thorburn out.